wish I could forget the memories that quickly pass. 'Cause I have found a path to share back with heaven. Hell, it only takes a spark for a fire to start. Won't hesitate, won't fan the place. That is the way. We'll make our own future. I'm gonna reach that finish line. We got a inches at a time. I'll keep going, nothing can stop me. Na 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 na. They say that we're not strong enough, but I ain't never giving up. And I'll leave this future behind me. Na 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 na. I'll keep going, nothing can stop me. Na 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 na.
Yeah.
I muted. That was really silly. Doing the intro just completely blank into the nothingness. Awesome. Shows how professional we are here. So, doing another extra episode. We'll see if people file in or not, whatever. Kind of an impromptu show tonight. I kind of fished it about on YouTube, but, you know, this is also kind of outside the time slot. Usually I'm, like, doing this around 7 or 8 starting, but... life happens. You start around 9, whatever. Tonight I had a few things that I kind of wanted to get to. First of all, Intel. As an Intel shareholder, this has been a wild week. I'm sure we'll get to some of it on Saturday, but like, oof. What to say even? First, you start out the week with Trump apparently just hating you, or was that last week? It's hard to keep up now. And then suddenly, you know, it's all Gucci. You know, Trump wants to continue doing the CHIPS Act thing, and then it's we'll do it, but with conditions. And then it's suddenly, well, if you don't want to give us the 10% stake, then we'll suddenly just, you know, shift it around and put it elsewhere. And then, you'll come to the table. And it's just, this, like, I knew Intel was going to be a interesting position to be in, considering how rocky things are right now. But now that, like, it's now part of this Trump silliness, I don't even, like, that's... I just can't do interesting. Like, that's not how I do any sort of investing like that. It's just around these highly volatile and just silly assets. That's pretty much where I'm at here. Is like, do I even want to be in it right now, as opposed to just seeing how it rides on Monday and then tipping my hat and walking out the door. Especially when you got people like BAM now getting into the space, Scam Investor and PP Seeds. I don't like, nothing good comes with people being in that trade with you. It's usually a pretty good sign of bad things. But yeah, at least my covered calls didn't get, you know, exercised upon. So there's some chance for some upside Monday if I want to reset those or whatever I want to do. Also, on the list of things that I wanted to kind of get to, we have Bill Pulte recently breaking out into the real, well, I mean, he has kind of broken out of meme stocks and into the real world, but like, starting to get mainstream attention. I saw this on Meltdown, so I kind of wanted to take a peek at this. This is Pod Save America. I don't think I've ever watched this before, but I'm just kind of curious how they how this one is. I haven't watched this yet, so I'm kind of curious what real people in the real world do when they see a clown like Bill Pulte just appearing into their lives.
I know what you're thinking. Why isn't the Trump administration focusing on what people actually care about, like figuring out how to charge the president's political enemies with mortgage fraud? Well, good news on that front. A Trump loyalist named Bill Pulte. He's on it. This is the guy who was installed as the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, an obscure regulatory position that turns out to be useful when you need to drum up some crime in a pinch.
Well, that's not what I wanted.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, like, and he shouldn't even be digging around in that stuff to begin with, so it's just kind of an extra level of crazy that we're even having to talk about Bill Pulte rummaging through people's mortgage reports to find dirt for the administration. Like, the fact that we've had to be talking about this for several weeks is a sign of the times, I guess is a way to put it. I want this so badly to be a simulation. I just wake up and this has all been a dream or something, but apparently fucking not. So yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, so here let's do Bill Pulte. I would say I learned so much.
Okay, first of all, it's not Bill Pulte, it's Plute. Get it right. It's Bill Plute. If you're going to look, I get it. They're not going to call him Pulte because they think they're insulting him. Let me share something with you guys. Call him Plute. It will drive him fucking insane. Do it. Just if you want to get back at Bill because you think he's an asshole, which he is, don't worry about it. Just call him Plute. It will work. I guarantee you. My advice for me to you: call him Plute.
About Bill Pulte other than the pronunciation of his name, because I was going to say Bill Pulte several times here.
You know, I was going to go with Pulte, and then once I went with Pulte, I decided I'm going with Pulte the whole way.
Is it definitely Pulte?
And afterwards, when the staff says, do you want to do a pickup on that, I'm going to say no, because I don't give a fuck.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm glad that they're as petty as everyone else about that. Oh, welcome aboard the train.
But here's who he is. He is a Nepo baby from Michigan, who is the grandson of one of America's most successful home builders, who, in a typical Horatio Alger story, did what many do right after graduating college. He started a private equity fund where he had a lot of money, made a lot of money, but what he's...
I don't know about had a lot of money, made a lot of money. It was mostly grandpa's money, because this dude has probably not lifted his finger to do any productive work a day in his life. Let's be straight here. Let's be completely honest and forthright. Bill Pulte has not earned a single dime that he's gotten. Yeah.
He's really, really good at, and here's how he became famous. This is really wild, is getting attention. So what he did is he went on Twitter and offered to start giving money away to people on Twitter if they followed him and retweeted him. He did Twitter philanthropy. And this actually got him...
I'm glad about the air quotes because, like, so far, every news outlet has been just taking Bill's word at face value. And it's like, oh, Bill Pulte's a philanthropist. No, fucking no. Like, I would quantify Mr. Beast as more of a philanthropist than Bill. At least you can argue that Mr. Beast does the charitable work and then makes the video that gets him attention. Like, net neutral, he'd do the charity probably anyway, even if it didn't get him a single view. Whereas Bill puts the give me attention, likes, and engagement before doing the charity work. This is the thing that I've been most frustrated with every time Bill Pulte has been in the media, is that the media treats his alleged philanthropy at face value as opposed to doing the basic level homework of noticing that it's all about Bill. It's not about actually doing anything charitable. It's about give me fucking attention.
3 million Twitter followers, and at one point he said, I'm going to give a veteran who follows me $30,000 if Donald Trump retweets this, which Donald Trump did do.
See, that's the key point. If Donald Trump retweeted it. Just give the money. What's hard about that, Bill? Just give the money. Do the right thing. Don't be concerned about if you're going to do the right thing or not. and make it conditional on if Donald Trump gives you a fucking pat on the back.
And then, after doing that for a while, he got very involved in the meme stock world. Became a very famous meme stocker. Worked bit GameStop.
Look, I get that they're doing like on the ground research because this news like just started like what was it, yesterday or the day before, when he went after Governor Cook on the Fed, one of the Fed governors. Like, I get that you're trying to go over the cliff notes for your fans, but there's just so much there. Like, just on the philanthropy stuff and how skeezy and sketchy it is. You could probably do a whole video on the shisty stuff that he's done there alone on its that in and of itself.
And Bed Bath & Beyond. He was
A well-trodden path.
Yes.
Yeah, and then again, brushing over a lot of the meme stock stuff and a lot of the absolute silliness here. And again, I get it. This is not something that they deal with normally, nor probably would. But like, there's just so much more extra stuff there.
Well, and then he did what many influencers who want to work in government did, is he gave $500,000 to Trump's super PAC.
And now?
And skipping straight over also the potential of like election, like the shisty like campaign contribution fraud allegations. Like, oof. Like again, I don't mean it to like dunk on them because they're just coming into this story like right as all of this is happening, but like there's just so much there. Like that, like Bill Pulte itself, like I said, that like each of those segments, his like interwebbing with the Trump administration, both before and now, and how much like even insiders of the Trump administration hate him. His meme stock stuff and his philanthropy, like those, like each and of themselves, there's just so much to unpack there that it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Now he's just drumming up fake mortgage fraud charges for all the president's enemies.
Yep.
This is and then going out and talking about it and saying that it's the hottest story and that the Fed governor.
We'll be going over how fake it is. Like, I'm saving that for Saturday. Amy's got all the deets on that one and has been doing a lot of research on that and how atrocious Bill's accusations are. So I'm gonna let her shine to tomorrow. But when they say that it's like fake accusations, not an exaggeration at all, like just straight up misconstruing available information here, though. We'll get more into that as they kind of go over it, because I think there's some points here that they kind of mess up on, from what I understand of it from like talking to Amy about it.
Is a liar because she doesn't even follow him on Twitter. How could she know what a tweet said if she doesn't follow the tweeter?
He must have tapped her. He didn't tap her phone. Otherwise, how would he know? We should just note that the FHFA director is not a law enforcement official. He's not an inspector general. His job is to manage two government-backed mortgage companies.
Yeah, that's it.
They are rarely on Fox News. They certainly are not offering. I'm sure this is the first, second, and.
Well, yeah, that's the part of this that's so hilarious. That this is all about self-promoting Bill Pulte, because how many times has Bill, since gaining office, been on Fox News for no other reason other than to have his fucking ego stroked?
Third criminal referral ever offered by the FHA director. It's totally like he's doing it like we could do a criminal referral same way. Just like criminal referral, he's writing a letter to the attorney general saying, referring a crime. Maybe we should start.
I don't know if Pam Bondi's going to accept my note, but I was looking into these charges to what they're trying to do here. It's like a very common. It's very common for opposition researchers in a political campaign.
Yeah.
So it's like, check this, because basically if you have two homes Which
is even more curious about this, that like where he points it out, the whole, if you were doing oppo research on someone, this is something you would dig up, which makes it even curious that it hasn't been ever discussed before. If someone actually thought that this would be something that would actually stick and damage someone's reputation or do something, do you not think this would have come up already? Like, she became a Fed governor, 2 years ago? Like, in the middle of the Biden administration somewhere. And she was, she passed on a straight party vote. I think it was a 50-50 split in the Senate. I think it gets brought up. But, if you were going to, smear her, this is something that, would have been brought up. And the fact that this is just now coming to light, allegedly, I think lends to the fact that it's just, there's nothing fucking there. It's just an opportunity for the Trump administration to fucking sling mud at someone, because that's what they do when, they don't like you. They just make up shit to sling at you and hope that you'll shut up, like any playground bully does when menacing other kids on the playground, and the teacher isn't there to keep them managed, which in this case definitely so, since it seems pretty clear that the Congress is compromised, and it's getting pretty obvious that the Supreme Court might be as well. So, the bully is just going to go around bullying people and stealing people's lunch money until someone, fucking spanks him on the ass.
So if you don't have two homes, don't worry, everyone. But if you have two homes, they'll give you a better mortgage rate on your primary residence than they would on your secondary residence, right? And so what happens is sometimes people say that one is their primary residence, and then they say the other is their primary residence too, and so they get good mortgage rates on both. And often, almost always, the punishment is a fine or embarrassment, or in the campaign you get in trouble for it. And now,
well, what they're saying is that they lied on mortgage documents to get a loan, which is technically, and I have a feeling they're going to get this wrong by the way they're introing it, is technically a felony. That's what's being accused here. My understanding from Amy is that law didn't change until after she had already applied for these mortgages. So technically, when she did it, it was perfectly legal-ish. Again, I'll let her handle that from what she's gone through on Saturday. And also the fact that there's a bunch of other things besides that with this story that just does not fly at all. And it's just absolutely, it's just sad and pathetic is what it is.
and sometimes it happens where, you don't know because someone put in your mortgage application, and so, super rich people didn't sign it, whatever. So now they must have decided that, since Schiff got a pardon for being on the January 6th committee, the preemptive pardon from Biden and other, they're just going to check everyone who might have two homes. They're going to check their mortgage status, and they're going to see if they can get them on this.
And then what? They're going to fine them?
I mean, who knows? I think the truth is most of these they're looking for indictments here, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get an indictment. And they want to say, crooked Adam Schiff was indicted, crooked Trish James was indicted, and then they get to court and they laugh the indictment out of the court, or they get off, whatever, but they got the headlines, and then they could say some crooked judge let them off, right? Or some crooked jury in DC got them off, right? Or whatever. But they just...
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty much what's going on here, is you just kind of build a story around it and try and smear someone or get someone to kowtow or back down. Or, I mean, you could just do oh God, what's his name from New York? I know I should know. But yeah, just do that special deal. If you got to deal with us, we'll just drop the charges.
want the embarrassment, which is why. Do you know that, did you see Ed Martin? The weapon is the crazy Ed Martin, who was Jeanine Pirro until he was too crazy for Jeanine for that job. So we had Jeanine Pirro was the saner choice for this job because Ed Martin, right. He's all in with the J6ers. He showed up outside Tish James's house in a trench coat.
Yeah, that
posed
happened.
For a picture and then put the picture out. Why? Why did he show up outside her house? Because he was like, it's a very important house. It's a very important
Is
house.
it really though?
You're just now showing everyone where Tish James lives because you are
I skipped
trying to
over
maybe
the part
charge
where
her
they
with
were,
mortgage fraud.
like, Bill, I'm sure we'll get to
Yeah,
that
I mean,
on Saturday
it's not a
again.
felony, right?
No, I don't.
It is technically lying on mortgage documents. It's kind of along the lines of bank fraud, essentially. So yeah, technically it is, but it's interesting always to see how other people react when Bill Pulte shows up in other people's feeds. But yeah, it was mildly amusing to see that. But nothing too in depth, because again, most people have never like they said, Bill Pulte is in a position that is kind of under the radar, and also on top of the fact that he's just a do nothing. Like, he is an empty vessel for what the administration wants him to do, and that is attack political enemies. But from that, we're gonna bounce ahead here to. I bet I'm gonna have to Oop. So last Saturday, there we go. Last Saturday, we talked about the Andrew Tate lawsuit in California against TikTok and Facebook for getting banned from both of those platforms. This is the only page we were able to see because spending a collective between the two, just the complaints, let alone whatever other documents might be, it was $50. Like, California and Delaware apparently charge extortionary rates to get public documents. I don't get it. Like, here in my home state, it's free. You just go download it. If you don't want if you don't want there's a word for it, but I'm totally blanking. But if you don't want it official, it's not notarized, but whatever. And then Florida, yeah, you can get a copy off for free. But apparently California's like, no, get fucked, $50, please. So luckily someone else was able to get this document. Just the TikTok one. I don't have the Facebook one, but I'm betting the claims are the same for the most part. And I haven't read all this. I read the first part of it. And boy, howdy, is this hilarious. Introduction. This case arises from defendant TikTok Inc.'s unlawful and politically motivated decision to deplatform plaintiffs Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, two internationally known entrepreneurs, commentators, media personalities, and alleged sex traffickers. Oh, wait, sorry, that isn't there. From the TikTok social media platform. At the time, the plaintiffs collectively commanded an audience of tens of millions of generated significant revenue through lawful enterprises, and were among the most visible public figures on TikTok. TikTok's removal of the plaintiffs was not an isolated enforcement action grounded in neutral application of its terms of use. Rather, it was the culmination of a coordinated campaign to suppress, silence, and destroy the reputations and livelihoods of two controversial but law-abiding men. Citation needed. The campaign was carried out not merely by private actors, but in concert with government officials, media operatives, and ideological pressure groups, thus transforming TikTok into a state actor. Seriously, that's the fucking argument you're going with? You're trying to make the argument that TikTok is a state actor. Well, best of fucking luck to you with that one. Transforming TikTok into a state act. I still can't seriously just look at that. That is so fucking comical. Like, seriously, bro, that's what you're gonna reach for? Okay, whatever. Sure. For purposes of constitutional liability under 42 USC 1983. Well, first of all, Slick, let me scroll back up here. Like, who cares about fucking federal law? You were in a state court. If you want to exercise federal law, you need to go to a fucking federal court. Like, we had this discussion in the AMC lawsuit when they were trying to claim that, you know, like, their lease being taken from them because the lease, the property where the mall was a case of a blighted eminent domain situation where they're going to bulldoze it and put up a new mall. Like, they tried to put it in state court in Nebraska, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, if it's a federal question, what do you want us to do? We're a state court. Like, if you're going to make this argument, you know, it's fucking dumb and retarded, but sure, if you want to make it, this argument about 42 USC and constitutional law and TikTok being a state actor, that belongs in federal court. What do you want a state court to do about that? That's so dumb. It's so unbelievably dumb. And I like, there's so much wrong with that argument, I don't know what to do with it. TikTok acted with full knowledge of the power and reach of its platform and deplatformed plaintiff without notice, explanation, or any meaningful process. Well, here's the thing, Chief. Like, they're a private actor. They're not the federal government. So they can just, you know, terminate your account whenever they fucking feel like it. In fact, it's even in the terms and conditions of the terms of use. Like, we can terminate your account for any reason at any time, and you can fucking eat a bag of dicks. That's how that works. While simultaneously allowing defamatory narratives to metastasize, narratives falsely suggesting plaintiffs were engaging in human trafficking. Well, is it false? Because last time I checked, the Romanian case is still going on, and you're still under judicial and administrative control, and can't leave Romania after your attempted flight out of the country. So, yeah, like I'm gonna need to put a asterisk maybe after that or something. And okay, like, unless they are specifically like doing it, I mean, there's safe harbor laws for social media platforms. Like, if a user posts something that is defamatory, like YouTube decides to like post a video defaming me, I can't just sue YouTube. They're just posting someone else's content. They're a neutral site host. They're like the town square. You can't sue the town because someone went to the town square and defamed you. That's not how that works. So, like, again, massive reach going on here. In doing so, TikTok not only violated its contractual obligations and expressed public comments to fairness and transparency, it lent its corporate power to a broader state-driven effort to deplatform disfavored viewpoints under the guise of safety and integrity. Citation needed. TikTok's conduct followed public pressure from U.S. and international authorities who had, through testimony hearings and back-channel communications, demanded that companies like TikTok take action against so-called dangerous figures without the benefit of criminal charges, due process, or adjudicated wrongdoing. Well, that's what happens when you're a like when you're a private actor who gets to decide, you know, if you will take certain policy decisions. Well, I mean, that's what private companies get to do. Like, they can be capricious so long as it's within the law. Like, they don't have like these constitutional obligations that the government does to, you know, due process and, you know, fair trial and burr. Like, they can just end your account because we say so. YouTube, X, every social media platform does this all the time. And the only reason these two yahoos care is because they think they're going to win a slap lawsuit. And I don't think they'll even win this. This is just like a big PR campaign where they can, even if they lose, they can be like, the system is against us. TikTok's conduct followed public pressure from U.S. Okay, we already said that, actually. Its alignment with state actors renders TikTok's actions subject to constitutional scrutiny. Man, well, there's something here I'm missing. Like, I get this is the introduction, but even still, like, a footnote, citation, something. If you're gonna make an argument so brazenly like that, like, not buying it. Plaintiff brings this action to recover for the substantial financial, reputational, and emotional harm inflicted by TikTok's wrongful conduct, and to ensure that even the most powerful technology companies remain accountable when they act as instruments of government censorship and suppress constitutionally protected speech in violation of federal and state laws. Oh, well, I'm glad we're admitting we're in state court, and state law might be the more applicable thing here rather than federal law. Again, if you want to use federal law, you need to go to federal court, not state court. And yes, you can bring state law claims in federal court, so long as they're the laws of your jurisdiction. So again, why are we not in federal court? Like, I'm so confused. Yeah, we know that the plaintiffs are shitheads. Factual allegations. Can we just call them allegations? Because I get the feeling there's not going to be much fact going on here. Plaintiffs Andrew Interest and Tate are dual citizens of the United States and United Kingdom, internationally recognized as entrepreneurs, media figures, and influencers. Andrew, yeah, this is probably shit we already know here. Okay. Let's see. Plaintiffs' online content disseminated through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and other platforms reached tens of millions of followers and generated substantial income to plaintiffs through endorsements, affiliate partnerships, and direct monetization. TikTok removed both plaintiffs from the TikTok platform without prior notice. They don't need to give that to you. Meaningful explanation. Again, they don't have to give that to you. Like, how many YouTubers have complained about how little YouTube explains its policy decisions to literally anyone and how much they hate it? Like, they don't have to give it to you. Again, frustrating. I feel like they should, but they don't have to. It's their platform. They can ban your account. They can, suspend you. They can do all sorts of things that they want to and give you zero explanation. In fact, YouTube consistently, actively leaves people in the dark as to what the fuck's going on with their account when they do violate policy. So, like that's not a legal question you can bring, because there's not really anything you can do about that. Unless, you get enough pressure to get one of these companies to change things. But then again, you have to be a really big platform, and it's usually only for you because, you're special. Or any opportunity to appeal. Again, they don't have to give that to you. Some platforms do. But it's not a requirement that they have to give you an opportunity to appeal. Again, I get the argument that they're going for is to try and say that they're a state actor, but you haven't even gotten to that. So why are we talking about, they did all these things? Well, who fucking cares? They're a private company. They can do these things. This deplatforming not only silenced plaintiffs, but immediately severed them from critical communication tools and millions of followers, causing them substantial and irreparable financial loss and damage. Well, tough noogies. At the time of the removal, plaintiffs maintained the following handles. Okidoki. The blanket ban and improper termination of plaintiff by defendant undermined not only plaintiffs' expressive rights, but their legitimate commercial interests tied to those accounts as fully known by defendants. Well, part of those is expressive rights. Who cares? They're a private entity. And commercial interests, again, I'm going to guess that the terms of service also says, who fucking cares? Because, like, unless you had a special contract with TikTok, which I doubt, like, your commercial interests are fucking irrelevant as well. TikTok's public-facing rationale suggested plaintiffs were banned for promoting dangerous individuals or organizations. Yeah, sex trafficking is pretty dangerous, and that's what you're being accused of. And to date, like, you know, innocent until proven guilty, but, like, again, you can understand why a company and its advertisers would not want to be associated with the implication until that changes in a court of law. So your accounts got terminated. And again, tough shit. Like, I get at some point they plan on getting to the state actor stuff, but that should be in front of this. Make your argument for why they're a state actor and then come back to this stuff. TikTok's for inciting misogyny. I mean, yeah. Claims that lacked substance and were unsupported by adjudicated facts. What? Fucking what? Like, the guy that... Like, if you look at any of his content, you can easily talk about the fact that he's a misogynist piece of shit. Like, do they think that, like, no one can read public documents and be able to, like, also show his, like, active record on social media? Like, his whole PhD pimp and hose degree thing, the way he actively treats women on social media, the way he carries himself on all of his platforms, the way he talks about in his, like, little secret courses that got, you know, leaked about how to basically entrap and mentally and physically abuse women. Yeah, you know, I'd love to see how he's going to substantiate that he's not a misogynist, because it's like, it's wild how he thinks that is going to be able to be defended in court. I can't wait. TikTok has never afforded plaintiff an opportunity to address or rebut those. Again, they don't fucking have to. Plaintiff also maintained that defendants' actions were part of a broader, ideologically motivated campaign carried out under, again, citation needed. I'd love to see you actually get to prove it, as opposed to just, you know, making declaratory statements that you think that we have to assume are just true because you said them. Around the time of defendant's termination of plaintiff's accounts, both plaintiffs were subjected to intense international scrutiny. Yeah. Though arrested in Romania and placed under house arrest in connection with criminal investigations, neither was nor has been convicted of trafficking or sexual exploitation. Yeah, because it's still ongoing. Because you keep stalling and delaying. Like, the trial is actively ongoing. I love how they, like, try and, like, thread the needle on this with this, like, intentionally misleading statement that omits key facts that the trial is still ongoing. There is still legal action. The case is still open. Like, okay, clarify, it hasn't gone to trial yet, but the case is still open with the plan to go to trial. There's also charges in the UK. And Florida has filed its own investigation into him. So, like, what does he think that he's going to, like, when TikTok shows up to this case, that they're not going to mention this fact? That, like they could just pull the wool over a state judge and he'll just be like, derp to derp. Like, does he think everyone's this fucking stupid? Literally? Despite this, TikTok and other actors repeatedly invoked these allegations to justify censorship and reputational damage. Yeah, because having someone who's accused of rape, pedophilia, like trafficking minors, like, regardless of if you end up being found guilty, to continue to have you on the platform while the case is ongoing, yeah, that's reputational damage to them. Like, if you don't think that they're within their right to remove you from their platform, which they get to do because it's their platform, not yours. Like, yeah. Like what? These defamatory implications, wait, what? Did I miss a beat on that upper paragraph? Despite TikTok and other actors plainly invoking these allegations to justify censorship and reputational damage. Oh, wait, I thought they didn't explain why they got rid of you. Wait. Oh my goodness, these two sentences are making my head hurt. Oh, there's not enough alcohol in the world for paragraph 32 and 33. Like, again, they canceled your accounts with no, like, they terminated your accounts with no explanation, but they also damaged your reputation because it was related to the Romanian allegations. Like, pick a fucking lane. Which is it? It can't be both. Either it was they terminated your accounts with no justification and gave you no reason, or the reason was because you were being charged in Romania. Which is it? I like these defamatory implications against plaintiff were okay. Again, how can they be defamatory? First of all, if it was they terminated your account for a reason and they told you the reason, that wasn't a public reason, that was a private reason, so it can't be defamation. And second of all, like in the other path, like in this fork of the road with their twin narratives they're trying to pull here, if they didn't tell you, how can it be defamatory? They just terminated your account and said, fuck off, we terminated your account. What you gonna do about it? So, like, again, that fails on both counts, so I don't know what you want to do with that. Oh. By refusing to clarify or support its decision. Again! How can it be defamation if they didn't clarify or state what their decision was? Like, if they didn't make a public statement or any statement at all, how can it be defamation? Who are the lawyers on this case? This is so fucking stupid. Who? Raymond E. Brenneman? Okay, you're a fucking idiot. Thomas Minostis? Okay, you're also a fucking idiot. I get it. Lawyers are supposed to zealously represent their clients, but that doesn't mean their brain should fall off the back of their fucking head while they're doing it. By refusing to clarify or support its decisions, TikTok allowed widespread media narratives to suggest criminal. How is that TikTok's problem? TikTok canceled your account, and other people made statements about it. That, like, TikTok didn't make those statements. Someone else did. Go sue them for defamation. Like, what? What? I'm just flabbergasted by how fucking stupid this complaint is. These actions led to severe reputational damage, the dissolution of business relationships. Yeah, well, no, don't run a sex trafficking ring, allegedly. And the termination of significant monetized ventures. The compound emotional and financial toll. That doesn't sound very alpha male of you. My fifis were hurt. My fifis were hurt, guys. What is it with all these alpha males and that when it, like, comes down to it, they're just, like, right-wing versions of social warriors. They beat their chest about how manly they are until you flick them in the fucking nose, and then they just, like, curl up in the fetal position and go, teacher, teacher, he hit me! He hit me, teacher, he hit me! Despite the overwhelming negative media coverage, plaintiffs retained a large following and vocal public support, especially from those critical of social media censorship. Plaintiffs now seek legal redress to restore their reputation, and, well, I mean, I don't know what legal redress is going to restore your reputation. Like, at this point, everyone kind of knows that you're fucking shitheads, so do better. Maybe that would, like, this is the one thing about, like I get the point of defamation is to fix the damage, the wrong. But it doesn't fix usually the reputational thing. That, like, unless it's, like, some, like, clear case of defamation. Like, think of, like, the Sandy Hook thing with Alex Jones. Like, the damage was that crazies started taking what Alex Jones said at face value and started to interfere in their lives and harm not only their reputation but their own safety. They were getting death threats from my understanding. So, like, yeah, that's something that, like, a court of law can remedy. Andrew and Tristan Tate's problem is they're fucking shitty human beings. Like, no court of law can fix that. Only you can fucking fix that. Only you can stop the reputational damage you caused. like there's nothing that fixes that. That's a you thing. At all relevant times, plaintiff's relationship with TikTok was governed by TikTok's terms of service. Yep. TikTok's guidelines govern the... Oh, I don't have those exhibits, though. Shit. TOS guidelines govern the enforcement process, the scope of the permitted removals of right, and the rights of users, including notice, consistency, and good faith application. TikTok's own guidelines at Community Principles 7. Emphasize transparency. Well, I hate to be this person, but the terms of service is the legal contract. The guidelines, they're like the pirates code. They're less like rules and more like guidelines. They don't have to honor those. That's why they're called guidelines. They're an idea of the idealized way that they would like to handle their business operations, but they're not enforceable rules. That's what the TOS is. That's the contract between you and TikTok. The guidelines are just guidelines. I can't even believe I'm having to explain this shit. It just seems so fucking obvious. So who gives a care what who gives a fucking shit what the TikTok guidelines say? So skipping paragraph 41. Paragraph 42. Plaintiff did not receive either of those. Again, who cares what the fucking guidelines say? They're not enforceable contract. TikTok's conduct violated the terms and public assurances of neutrality, and again, they're guidelines. They're not enforceable contract law. Are we seriously, like, this is the funny thing is, like, again, does he think that the judge or TikTok's lawyers are going to be fucking stupid when they walk in the courtroom? Like, oh, we're going to talk about the terms of service and the guidelines, and then we only put the terms of service up there to try and confuse you and hope that you'll confuse the terms of service, the actual enforceable contract, and the guidelines as if they're the same thing when they're fucking not. And then we're only going to talk about the guidelines. We're not going to talk about what the fucking terms of service says. The actual enforceable contract. Okay, finally, we're going to get to the TOS. TikTok's TOS and guidelines collectively form the TOS is the enforceable contract. In particular, the TOS states, in pertinent part, you are reading the terms of service which govern. Like, again, this is just them trying to go back and forth and try and confuse you. They're trying to say that the guidelines of the TOS are one and the same. They're not. The guidelines are exactly what they say. They're guidelines. The TOS is the enforceable contract. And they're trying to say, oh, well, the TOS states in pertinent part you're reading the terms of service to which the relationship and service agreement between you are set up for the services on the platform, and then backtrack into the guidelines, which are not the fucking TOS. Man, this is like dealing with baggy lawsuits. It's like dealing with meme stock baggy lawsuits, except they actually hired lawyers as opposed to trying to sit it off of ChatGPT. Yet it still feels like a ChatGPT lawsuit. At all relevant times, plaintiff and defendant were subject to the TOS and the guidelines. You know what? At this point, you know what I think about the whole guidelines thing. We're not going to bring it up again, unless I get really annoyed. These governing document, especially provides users, including plaintiff, with the right to notice, transparency, and appeal as well as protections against arbitrary enforcement and the rules of defend employment. Well, you said they're in the guideline. Oh my God. Skipping paragraph 47 because it's fucking meaningless. Contrary to these commitments, yeah, skipping paragraph 48 because it's meaningless. At the time of their removal, plaintiffs collectively maintain millions of... Who gives a shit? These followers represent not just an audience, but a monetized community from which plaintiff derives substantial economic benefit. Okay. While TikTok portrayed plaintiffs as having violated its standards, it has not taken similar action against... Oh my God. Okay. That doesn't change the fact that you were subject to those terms to be taken down. Like, again, guidelines, yes, the guidelines say they try and make a fair and balanced platform. But those, again, are guidelines. And again, just because you got caught breaking the TOS and you got terminated and other people didn't, doesn't change that they were well within their right to terminate you, you whiny fucking bitch. 52. Okay, they're trying to convolute the TOS and guidelines again, whatever. Each of these core principles were violated when plaintiffs were similarly banned with no notice or other rights provided. Again, you haven't established that that's actually in the TOS, which is the governing contract. I like how they mention the TOS and the guidelines and then never mention the TOS again. It's all stuff from the guidelines. The lack of any appeal mechanism. Again, they don't have to. And you haven't cited that they have to in the TOS, so who fucking cares? Plaintiff's business and social media reach were constructed lawfully. Citation needed over years. And This discriminatory, unexplained, and sweeping enforcement action amounts to both a contractual breach, which you've not established, and knowing collaboration in suppression of disfavored but lawful speech. Again, you haven't established they're a state actor. Oh, we're already to the causes of action. This is the definition of something that would just, like, get immediately blown up by the Iqbal Twombly standard. Like... Twombly and Iqbal. Ashcroft v. Iqbal and let's just pull it over here. Anyhow. I know this is state court, but I'm sure there's a California version of this. Iqbal is a combination of the two standards, the Bell Atlantic Court v. Twombly and Ashcroft v. Iqbal, because the two cases together have made it pretty much that you have to make a plausible claim. We do not get, like, you have to show some supporting evidence. You cannot just state, this happened, trust me, bro, in a lawsuit. You actually have to establish some facts that make it clear that you have a right to redress before the court. Two working principles underline our decision in Twombly. First, the tenet that a court must accept as true all the allegations contained in a complaint is inapplicable to legal conclusions. You cannot make conclusory arguments. You need to actually support legal arguments. Like, the court does not have to take your empty, factless conclusions. Second, only a complaint that states a plausible claim for relief survives a motion to dismiss. Determining whether a complaint states a plausible claim for relief will, as the Court of Appeals observed, be a context-specific task that requires the reviewing court to draw on its judicial experience and common sense. In keeping with these principles, a court considering a motion to dismiss can choose to begin by identifying pleadings that, because they are no more than conclusions, are not entitled to the assumption of truth. While legal conclusions can provide the framework of a complaint, they must be supported by factual allegations. When there are well-pleaded factual allegations, a court should assume their veracity and then determine whether they plausibly give rise to entitled relief. Our decision in Twombly illustrates the two-pronged approach. Like, this whole thing is the definition of something that in federal parlance would get dismissed on a 12b6. Like, this is the definition of failed to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. These are all conclusory allegations, not one bit of fact in there. Which is going to make the cause of action fun. Cause of action number 1, breach of contract. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all the above paragraphs. Cool. Plaintiffs entered into a contractual relationship with TikTok under TikTok's TOS, not the guidelines. Is there like a strike through like that I can get out of here? Like, I wish I could do like a strike through line, because that should go away. In addition, specific terms and conditions forming the core of the relationship. Plaintiffs have fully performed everything required under their contracts. I'm going to bet TikTok's going to disagree with paragraph 61 highly. TikTok failed to perform its obligations according to the TOS, which you have yet to establish or substantiate. As a result of TikTok's breach, plaintiffs suffered compensatory and consequential damages exceeding $10 million. To the exact amount of which shall be determined at trial. If you even get there. Second cause of action, violation of California Bus and Proof Code. 17,200. TikTok owns and operates a prominent social media platform. TikTok has more than... TikTok engaged in unfair and fraudulent business acts and unfair, deceptive, and untrue or misleading advertising when it willfully terminated plaintiffs' TikTok accounts with no cause. Like, that's in the TOS. We can terminate your account at any time for any reason. Like, what? TikTok engaged in unlawful, unfair, or deceptive business acts. Cool story, bro. Tortious interference with prospective economic advantage. Like, tortious interference is... Tortious interference is a third party interfering with the contract. They're a party to the contract. How can they tortiously interfere with the contract? How are these people barred? How do these lawyers even pass the bar? That's like basic bitch stuff. Tortious interference with prospective economic advantage. It'd be like Amy's running her hair salon and she has a contract with a supplier, and I say nasty things about Amy to get them to break off the contract and sign with me. That's tortious interference with prospective economic advantage. Like, do you see how that's different from, like, the situation they've alleged and my situation? It's a third party interfering with an established contract. If you were a party to the contract, there can't be tortious interference. Unjust enrichment. Quantum merit, I think. Plaintiff incorporates by reference. Yeah. TikTok monetized plaintiff's content and audience for years using their media presence driven by platform and engagement and advertising revenue for the benefit of the defendant. In doing so, plaintiffs have conferred a benefit on the defendant, which the defendant knowingly accepted under circumstances that make it inequitable for defendant to retain the benefit without what? They no longer got the benefit when they terminated your account. What? What? By deplatforming, they unjustly retain the economic value generated by plaintiff's brand? What? Are they like trying to make an argument that because some of Andrew Tate's fans still use TikTok, that is unjust enrichment? That's like, no, but I guess whatever. You've been making a bunch of other stupid claims at this point. Fifth cause of action, intention. The big alpha male would like to make his fifth cause of action intentional infliction of emotional distress. Again, just more proof all these alpha males aren't even beta males. They're fucking omega males. Biggest fucking pussies on the face of this planet when they want to be. They act all big and tough for the camera and then curl into the fetal position whenever anyone does anything. And when they feel most aggrieved is when they turn into the biggest fucking babies. Intentional. Fuck off. Violation of Civil Code 51B. Unruh civil right. They're bringing civil rights charges. All persons within the jurisdiction of this state are free and equal no matter what their sex, race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, disability. TikTok discriminated against plaintiffs by denying them access to the services based on plaintiffs' viewpoint and ideology. They get to do that as a private entity? Like, these are all inherent characteristics. Like you notice here, like, I know it's gonna highlight all that, but like sex inherent, race inherent, color inherent, religion, I mean that to an extent, choice, ancestry inherent, national origin inherent, disability inherent, medical condition inherent, genetic information inherent, marital status, I mean a choice but still kind of inherent, sexual orientation inherent, citizenship inherent, I mean again a choice but still, primary language, it's like inherent, like you can't fix where you're born and becomes your primary language, or like immigration status, again can be fixed at a choice but generally inherent. Like all these things are inherent. Your viewpoint, not inherent. Like, not at all. And moreover, again, you've never established, like, they made the claims that they're a state actor and then did nothing to prove they are a state actor. So again, they don't have to do this like viewpoint discrimination. Not one of those ones that's up there and that highlighted. Viewpoint discrimination is not one of them. And again, since you didn't establish they're a state actor, like, your entire fucking claim of civil rights violations is a fucking dead on arrival. A breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. The implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing is part of several contracts and agreements between plaintiffs and defendant, including but not limited to the TOS, just the TOS. Among other things, defendant and its, oh my god, again, playing this like fucking like fucking nesting doll game of it's the TOS and the guidelines, but all they ever cite is the guidelines. They never fucking mention the TOS. I wonder why that is. Negligent misrepresentation. Defendant made a material misrepresentation of existing material fact when at such time defendant knew that such representations were false or had no reasonable ground or belief that such representations were true, and thereby intended to induce plaintiffs to rely on such representations. Specifically, TikTok made false statements in its public policies about neutrality and the availability of appeal. Again, in the guidelines. Ninth cause of action, promissory estoppel. Defendant has made clear and unambiguous promises to plaintiff through this TOS. Defendant's representations and promises is that it would enforce the rules fairly and allow appeal induced plaintiff's reliance. By creating their TikTok account and investing substantial amounts of time and money to cumulative millions of TikTok followers, plaintiff reasonably and foreseeably relied on defendant's promises. Yeah, but you never, again, like, they didn't even, try and use the fucking guidelines there. So, like, I'd sure like to see some actual factual development. Because, I mean, if the bar is that low for promissory estoppel, I mean, you could maybe reach for it, but, like, you have to work harder than that. 10th cause of action, fraud, intentional misrepresentation. Okay, well, same as above, except even harder. Violation of the First Amendment, like, again, you have not established that they're a government entity, so not even going to waste my time with that. False light. TikTok through public statements. Again, they didn't make any public statements. Like, what public statements? You didn't even say any. And again, these representations were published to a wide audience. Like, why don't we have exhibits of these purported false statements that they made? Because, like, again, if they did happen, why aren't they on your statement of facts at the top? And why aren't they here? Like, what false statements made by TikTok? And implied messaging. Well, implied messaging is not how defamation works, my dude bros. So, yeah, prayer for relief. Yeah, my prayer for relief is that this fucking lawsuit dies a speedy death. That's my prayer for relief. Relief from this fucking stupidity. Anyway, it's not the only lawsuit I've got slated for tonight. This one will have far less brain damage, so that is always an improvement. This lawsuit is one that we briefly mentioned, but we haven't really gotten to. I had completely forgotten that there was a RICO element to this, and in case you're wondering what this case is about, this is the Pumpfun lawsuit. As I briefly mentioned, I believe last time, there were 2 Pumpfun lawsuits. They have been consolidated into one case. Our lead plaintiffs are up there on the top because this is a class action lawsuit. So they are accusing Pumpfun, if I remember correctly, of running an illegal casino. Makes sense. An illegal money transfer website or organization, or an illegal money transfer company, like unlicensed. Also accurate, and it's also what they got Tornado Cash on, so that seems likely to be grabbed on. And they also accuse them of money laundering. That'll be an interesting one. That didn't work out so hot in Tornado Cash, and Tornado Cash is like that's the thing Tornado Cash is used for, money laundering. So as far as the money laundering charge, best of luck to you on that one. I don't think that you'll probably get that one. So basically, from my understanding of what this filing is, this is docket ID 78, is plaintiff's RICO case statement pursuant to the court's RICO standing order. So I assume that it must be some form of local rule that if you are bringing an action that has to deal with RICO, you have to make an additional filing that basically establishes like the elements of RICO. So I'm gonna pull something up here real quick so that we can briefly go over RICO together, because for some people we call it RICO over on the interwebs, because there are a lot of meme stock people who like to scream RICO to the rafters, and they have not even the first clue of how RICO operates, and so they just assume anything can be RICO, and that's just like how they kind of, let's see here. So I know this is, I talk a lot about Chat GPT and things, but this is like just straight up kind of thing. So there are four elements, well, not four elements, it looks like. So the elements are enterprise, so a business, a pattern of racketeering activity, which needs to be 2 or more predicate acts within a 10-year period, affecting commerce and causation. So those are your general 4 elements of RICO. So they're going to go into all the different elements here and all the different people in this RICO charge, of which is not just Pumpfun. For those that don't know what DBA is, doing business as. I mean, that for most people, I'm pretty sure that that's pretty straightforward. I found this one interesting. That's the one that I had alerted to on the YouTube side and on social media, that they're dragging Solana in on this as part of this RICO enterprise, which I guess if I had seen what the atoll was in there, I would have known that, because here they are up in the case header. But I didn't, I guess, notice that till now, that it wasn't just Pumpfun. Like, they're making RICO charges and charging like Solana as being part of this like racketeering enterprise to defraud people. I don't know how well that'll work, but that'll be interesting. So, state whether the alleged unlawful conduct is in violation of 18 USC, which they do. And they're going to list the defendants. We're going to skip over that because we already know who all the defendants are. I feel like I've skipped over part of this. Oh no, we're still talking about who all the defendants are. I think. Why am I going all the way down to 11? I feel like there should be. Okay, so yeah, that is just still listing the defendants. Oh. List the alleged victims. We're going to skip that, and we're going to hear. All right, here's where we want to be. And describe in detail the pattern of racketeering activity or collection of unlawful debts alleged for each RICO claim. List the alleged predicate acts and the specific statutes that were alleged to be violated. The pattern comprises acts indictable under 18 USC 1961-1, operation of illegal gambling business, 18 USC 1955, promotion of gambling in the first degree under New York penal law, transmission of wagering information, that would be the charts and all of that stuff, so that's what they're going to get them with that on that. Operation of a unlicensed money transmission business, 18 USC 1960, money laundering offenses, 18 USC 1956 A1B I, 1956 A2BI, and 1957 wire fraud. 18 USC 1343 trafficking in counterfeited goods. Not sure about that one, but okay. Trafficking in counterfeit labels, identity theft. That'll be interesting. Identity theft. The complaint also pled UIGEA violations and Lanham Act 11, Section 1125 AC conduct as part of the same gambling and counterfeiting scheme, which further evidences method and scienter. predicate acts, wire fraud. Defendants devised and executed a scheme to defraud Pumpfun users by falsely marketing fair launch mechanics, concealing insider priority and MEV bundling, and inducing purchases of tokens through interstate wire communications, including the Pumpfun web application, social media promotions, and smart contract interface, thereby obtaining money and property by means of materially false and misleading statements. There's your wire fraud. Illegal gambling business. Defendants conducted an unlicensed gambling enterprise in which users staked SOL on chance-driven outcomes enabled by bond curve launches and slot-like trading mechanics. The business involved 5 or more persons, operated continuously, and generated well over $2,000 per day. That's not a tight little sum. The same conduct constituted a felony act involving gambling, chargeable under New York law and punishable by more than 1 year, qualifying as a state law predicate. Transmission of wagering information. In operating and scaling the gambling enterprise, defendants used interstate wires facilities to transmit bets, wagers, and information, assisting in the placing of bets, wagers, including transaction routing and validator priority communications, integral to Pumpfun launches and trading. Operation of an unlicensed money transmitting business. Defendants received funds, SOL, converted those funds into tokens, and transmitted the value between and among customer wallets and smart contract pools without the licenses, registration, or AML KYC controls. KYC, know your customer controls, required by federal and state laws. Money laundering. Defendants knowingly conducted and aided financial transactions involving criminally derived property exceeding $10,000, including facilitating and prioritizing flow linked to the Lazarus Group, a cyber crime unit of the Democratic People's... Of course. Of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So... Some of the flows went to North Korea. Of course they did. Wow. That the FBI identified as having responsible for billions in losses designed to conceal or disguise the nature, source, and ownership of these proceeds, and engaged in monetary transactions with such criminally derived property. Trafficking in counterfeit goods and services. Defendants knowingly facilitated the creation and sale of tokens bearing counterfeit marks, i.e. the Fortune 500 brands, universities, celebrity likenesses. Yeah, that was kind of the thing on Pumpfun. You make a bunch of meme coins. Like there was even a, like I think there was a couple like PP Seeds like tokens on Pumpfun before he made his. A bunch of Bed Bath & Beyond ones. There were all sorts of Pumpfun tokens that used unauthorized people's likenesses, companies' likenesses, other IPs, things like that, all to just make meme coins that, you know. So that's how they're doing the false labeling and counterfeit labels, that they're basically saying they used these intellectual properties without the actual consent of the person and therefore, or person or entities, and then, you know, tricked other people that these things were. I don't know if that'll stick, because like, do you like if you went on to Pumpfun, like let's run this back logically. If you went to Pumpfun, do you seriously think that those are like the actual companies or labels or people that are making those coins? Like, honestly, do you think that? Because I get the feeling that I get what they're saying, but I don't see how that holds up in court. Like, if you get there, I don't know. Fraud and related activities in connection with identification documents and means of identification. Defendants used and enabled the use of real persons' names and likenesses, including plaintiffs, their counsel, and family members, as means of identification in connection with unlawful activity, impersonation tokens, and related solicitations constituting identity. Whoa. Again, I don't know how well that would stick. I get what they're saying, but I don't know. It feels like a reach. If the RICO claim is based on the predicate offenses of wire fraud or fraud in the sale of securities, the circumstances of fraud or mistake shall be stated in particularity. Wire fraud particularity. Pumpfun's core promise was a fair launch with no pre-sales, no insider allocations, and rug pull-proof launches, where everyone had a fair shot at the game. Pumpfun broadcast this as the first and dominant message on the site and in related channels. In operation, Pumpfun implemented no randomized entry, no anti-bot throttling, and no equal access guardrails, while insiders with superior infrastructure obtained first fills. The order ticket exposed fast turbo ultra execution tiers and an optional tip purchase validator priority. Yeah, that's where you could like literally bribe. Like I think it's explained up there near the top that you could literally bribe the site, the tip, to like get better execution. Alongside front-running protections, toggle reinforcing the illusion of parity, interface mimicry of market fundamentals and risk badges. Pumpfun integrated Jito's bundle and tip pathway and instructed creators to construct a Jito bundle and add a bribe to guarantee earliest inclusion at launch. Jito's system allowed priority inclusions before public orders, so insiders could acquire supply at minimal bonding curve prices. Lol. Technically, Pumpfun services the point of user interaction with the casino comparable to the gaming terminal at the front of the slot machine bank, but the machine itself only runs because of Solana Labs, the Solana Foundation, Jito Labs, and the Jito Foundation, who provided the back-end software and hardware. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder to rope them in on this so-called, like, RICO thing if, like, look at it this way. I'm running an illegal casino. I get some slot machines for my casino. Does the fact that these slot machine people sold me the slot machines mean they're part of my criminal enterprise? Like, maybe I don't understand how the whole gambling system works. Maybe there's like you know, when you buy a gun, they have to do an ID check and stuff like that. Maybe there's something like that. It's like, we can't sell you this like slot machine unless you're verifiably part of a licensed casino. And in which case, then yeah, maybe you could make the argument that, like, you know, you could get a RICO charge to stick. But like, I don't know how you would do it in that. It just doesn't seem like that works. But you know, I'm not going to pretend like I absolutely know. The fair launch claim was a material and necessary to attract new users who otherwise faced asymmetric execution dynamics. The promise of fairness, anti-rug, and safety was repeatedly stated by developers and affiliate promoters, despite the abundance of the represented protection. Yeah, the absence of represented protections, not abundance. I don't even know where I pulled that one from. Pumpfun further reinforced the illusion of regulated, even playing field by presenting candlestick charts and real-time tickers that mimic FINRA member trading platforms, thereby suggesting continuous, reliable price discovery. The interface displayed market cap, supply, and holders as if they were investment fundamentals. It sorted tokens into life cycle stages such as newly created, about to graduate, and graduated, invoking an issuer pipeline. Badge style indicators for snipers holding, dev held, and top 10 holder percentages presented risk metrics analogous to insider ownership and float tables. The order ticket offered fast, turbo, and ultra speed tiers and optional validator tips, all while suggesting front-running protections, which heightened the impression of professional-grade execution. Collectively, the interface cloaked a speculative insider advantage game in the vernacular of a fair market. Defendants disseminated the fairness representations, platform banners, and marketed through public websites, smart contracts, interfaces, social media posts, Discord updates, and videos, all transmitted over interstate wires. No, we got a bunch of pages here. We'll see how far we get. Pumpfun maintained the fairness narrative while omitting basic protections and leaving a static launch screen that insiders could consistently defeat with evidences knowing purposeful deception. Executives and community leaders later embraced the slogans such as "crime is legal" and "it's crime season," signaling conscious adoption of a fraud-tolerant ethos as the scheme continued. I mean, I shouldn't be laughing at that, but like, yeah, that is kind of like the punchline of Pumpfun, that like it was kind of knowingly shitty. Plaintiffs incorporated by reference the false fair launch wire fraud allegations, together with the pleaded losses and fee facts, and alleged that defendants acting with intent to defraud engaged in a systematic, ongoing course of conduct by means of material misrepresentations and omissions disseminated through the Pumpfun interface and the related interstate communications, thereby obtaining property from well more than 10 persons, and at a minimum property in excess of $1,000 from at least one person. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Well, I think that's kind of self-explanatory, so we'll skip here. Describe how the predicate acts form a pattern of racketeering activity. Horizontal relatedness is shown by shared purposes, inducing token purchases and wagers while monetizing transmission and priority through common methods that the pleading spells out with particularity. The uniform fair launch, no insider advantage marketing, and the venture-like solicitations that primed retail demand. The interface mimicry that surfaced front-running protections and exposed a user tip to purchase priority, and the integrated Jito tip bundling path that operationalized the priority at launch, including construct a Jito bundle. Okay, yeah, we got that kind of explained. Vertical readiness is satisfied because each predicate is alleged to be enabled by and to further the enterprise's affairs as it actually operated. Pumpfun's one-click front-end slot with a fixed 1% take on every trade. Solana's SPL token program and validator stack that validated each wager and monetized block space MEV. Jito's client block engine that sold launch priority via bundles and tip surfaced to users in the very UI through the tip speed controls. Those rails are tied directly to the revenue streams alleged to be the enterprise. I'm not doing French today, sorry. Continuity is pled as a sustained series across the class period. Count 2 alleges thousands of occasions over roughly 18 months, with repeated launches, recurrent wire fraud inducements, and the ongoing gambling money transmission mechanics, all causing large-scale losses to the class. State whether the alleged predicate act relates to each other as part of a common plan. If so, describe. Describe in detail the alleged enterprise for each RICO claim. State the names of the individual. Oh, we don't need to go over that again. Structure, purpose, and function. I think we kind of went over that already. That's the reason for the screenshot. Let's scroll back over here. The enterprise's course of conduct included routing projects and token issuance through foreign foundations to limit U.S. regulatory exposure, while continuing to market launch tokens to U.S. users. A public admission by defendant Austin Federa in an ex reply to defendant Louis, I'm going to stop butchering that. Lily confirms this. Routing strategy is a part of an enterprise plan to shield liability while extracting U.S. flow and fees. The defendants are clear on the Solana ecosystem's deliberate and coordinated regulatory posture. U.S.-facing launches paired with foreign foundation wrappers to shield liability. Oof. Okay, now I'm starting to get how they're trying to rope Solana into this. They're basically trying to go to a regulatory island. They're trying to pick their regulatory regime by going somewhere else outside the reach of the U.S. and then try and sell in to U.S. consumer markets to try and sidestep the U.S. regulatory regime. I gotcha. This is how you're making your RICO claim. Okay. It makes more sense now. So let's see what this is. How can we get foundation to onshore to the U.S. under current corporate tax policy and currently discussed tax changes? It is not possible. Currently, every token transfer in the United States is considered a transfer of property. Well, duh, yeah, because it is. Because foundations typically have zero cost basis on their tokens, every transfer of a token thus incurs corporate tax, which particularly means a 25% tax on every transaction. Oh, boo-hoo. Not to mention an administrative nightmare. No one can afford to pay $125 every time they spend $100. De minimis doesn't address this because $600 doesn't pay for much in a corporate context. Foundation today sits in Cayman, where the corporate tax is zero. Spend $100 in your token, you actually spend $100. An older gen. Wait, but still that doesn't make sense. Like, wait, what? Like, if you're transferring money, why would you get a corporate tax? It's a transfer of property, but why would you be taxed on it? Like, tax implies a capital gain. So if I give you $100 and you give me $100 worth of Solana, there's no profit. It's just an exchange. Like, that tweet is just so dumb on its face. In order to okay. Whatever. If you say that's why, whatever. We'll go with what you're saying. Plus, if a U.S. foundation sells tokens, the IRS treats that as property. Yep. Like, yeah, if you choose to sell the property, though, and you make a gain, then you get taxed. But in exchange of property, $100 worth of Solana for $100 is not it's not a capital gain. So you wouldn't be taxed. I don't follow. But if you, like, sell something for something, then yeah, you're going to get taxed. The enterprise further operated through its individual lenders and agents, including all the defendants. The entities functioned as a unified and interdependent enterprise in which Pumpfun could not operate at scale without Solana's validator framework and token infrastructure. Public emissions by Solana Foundation leadership align with this motive, including Lily's statement that validators make money from transaction count, especially priority fee transactions, and apps make money from transaction volume, confirming that fee and revenue capture scale with the very throughput the enterprise sought to maximize. Okay. So they're saying all these like tools that's how Solana as part of the enterprise makes money. Okay. Public statements by leadership corroborate this association and ongoing coordination. Whether any defendants are employees, officers, or directors of the enterprise, because the enterprise is pled as an association in fact among separate corporate actors, the individuals through whom it operated served as officers or agents of the constituent entities. All right. Whether any defendants are associated with the alleged enterprise, the complaint pleads association across the constituent entities through shared infrastructure, coordinated launch and execution mechanics, and reciprocal fee streams, including Solana system programs, Jito's bundle and tip pathway, and Pumpfun's interface and token factory, all operating interdependently rather than as isolated tools. Yeah, I would like to see more on that argument. Like, I get they're sort of building this together, but I assume it's that there's stuff to that in the complaint. Whether defendants are separate from the enterprise or the enterprise itself, plaintiffs pled person enterprise distinctness by alleging that each defendant is a distinct person, while the Pump enterprise is an association in fact among Pumpfun, Solana Labs, and Solana Foundation, and Jito Labs. The enterprise is not any single defendant and is operated through a shared but distinct roles. Describe the alleged relationship between the activities of the enterprise and how the pattern of racketeering activity differs from the usual and daily activities of the enterprise, if at all. Pumpfun's one-click token factory creates a token and immediately launches a bonding curve market that moves within seconds. The enterprise integrates Jito's bundle and tip system into the launch flow so that users can pay to obtain priority execution at creation. The complaint alleges that the property path allows sophisticated users to obtain the earliest fills ahead of public orders and is central to Pumpfun's economics. Each Pumpfun transaction involves Solana system programs and SPL token standard, which Solana authored and maintains, and those rails process every token creation and trade. The wire fraud narrative is not incidental marketing. The platform's defining message was fair launch, including claims of no pre-sales, no insider allocations, and rug pull proof launches. That message was disseminated across the website interface and social channels. The complaint alleges that these representations continued to be used after a foreign regulator's ban without changing the launch mechanics. Skip some of this. Describe the effect of the activities of the enterprise on interstate and foreign commerce. I don't think that's necessary. If the complaint alleges a violation, you don't fill any of that. State who employed by association. State whether the same entity is both the liable person and the enterprise. Each defendant is pled as a distinct person. Yeah, I'm going to go over that. If the complaint alleges a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1962D, describe the alleged conspiracy. The complaint pled conspiracy alleging that Pumpfun, Solana Labs, the Solana Foundation, and Jita Labs agreed that members of the enterprise would commit multiple racketeering offenses to implement and profit from the scheme. The common objective was to run and monetize a high-velocity token wagering system by inducing purchases with a uniform fair launch message while deploying priority execution rails and operating unlicensed value transfer functions. The agreement's methods are pled with particularity. First, defendants disseminated. Okay, we already know about this narrative. I get the feeling that this is just going back over the complaint, and they're going to repeat this stuff several times as they have to go through individually for all the things the court's basically asking. Describe the alleged injury to business or property. And they're going to go over how each person was particularly affected. Describe the direct causal relationship between the alleged injury and the violation of the RICO statute. Provide any additional information that you feel would be helpful to the court in understanding the RICO claim. This case alleges a single integrated racketeering scheme. The platform publicly sold fair launch parity and safety while operating what was, in substance, a house-advantaged gambling engine. The pleadings trace the scheme across 3 layers: the user interface that marketed fairness while exposing priority controls, the execution layer that sold priority through tips and private bundles, and coordinated off-platform communication that amplified that same message. Much of the decisive proof is in defendants. I don't know why I kept tripping over that. Defendants' possession and control screenshots taken of the internal Pump Team Telegram chat featuring members of the Pumpfun team discussing fundraising, technical strategy, and work with Bruder, Gokul, and Yakovenko. Hope that's right. Are appended as exhibits A through D to illustrate the scheme's operation and identify specific topics for targeted discovery. The accompanying extract from UK police report. Oh, so so there's a UK criminal. Okay, interesting. Also didn't know that. That probably had to do with them getting kicked off X. If there is an actual UK criminal complaint. Yikes. Okay. Well, that covers that. And it is 10:45. So I think I'm going to call it a night there, having covered most of the main topics that I wanted to. Thank y'all for joining. We'll see you tomorrow night, same great time, 8 o'clock, for the actual Truth Be Told show. We got quite a few topics. We'll go more into the Pulte thing that we briefly talked about in depth. Some lawsuits, some meme stock stuff, other things going on.